Hello, everyone. Um, so usually this channel is for like D&D stories over VR chat. Couple of reasons why I've stopped those and why they stopped a while ago. Um, I stopped running those videos and doing those because I decided that um I wasn't going to be able to keep up with it, and I wasn't able to keep up with it. There was too much work to be done. As well as writing a script, doing all of that, and then often trying to get ready for D&D the next week so I could write another script and do it again. So I decided to stop doing those. However, I'm not done with my writing projects. I'm still doing plenty of writing projects, and I do still want to be a writer. That is one of my goals. And it seems like BookTube is a very robust environment to do that in, provided your book is good. We're not going to talk about book talk right now. Um, so, if you've ever read a certain web serial by an individual by Wildbow, this can be anything other. This can be anything, including Pact. Um, I think one of them is called Worm. One of them is called uh, Twig. There's a bunch of them. Um, you'll sort of understand the concept of this particular web serial. This is so you want to summon a demon. I made this. I wrote this story, and I'm still writing this story. Um, each page will be released once every month on the first Monday of every month, whenever that happens to be. Um, this I do have a lot of pages written. I have about four written now. As of right this instant, there is not another one out. However, tomorrow at 8 a.m., there will be the second page released. So you'll be able to read the second page as well. If you're seeing this in a short, then continue listening, and you'll be able to see a small snippet of the story. And check the description on this video. If you're watching the long form version of this, then sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice cup of coffee. I've got one, and we can go ahead and read this lovely story. Well, tooting my own horn here, but lovely story. So, you want to summon a demon. Hold on a minute, let me actually pull up the proper page here. Well, let me tell you, it's not going to be an easy task. It never really is. Put aside those preconceptions you have about demons, too. They're a dime a dozen, and 99% of the time, you're going to be summoning someone really low on the totem pole. Seek out a name, speak it, bleed, job done, easy peasy. Do so with no protections, and you die. Or worse, in short, you shouldn't. I'll tell you a story about some of the things I've called into the world. It's my job, kinda. My name's Rodney, by the way. Pleasure to meet ya. When I began the summoning one late Thursday evening in my basement, I set out all the necessary accoutrements. A dagger for blood. No worries, not much blood is actually needed, but you do need a dagger. You know what, for one of those diabetes sticks here, it has to be a cut, one that might scar. Beside the dagger, I also had a few red candles. These ones were unlit. I also had a little blowtorch lighter. It's a lot harder for a demon to put out a blowtorch flame than it is for them to put out a match or a generic cigarette lighter. I've heard some demonologists prefer to use a Zippo, but I've never got the hype. If 3 of the 5 candles goes out, the barrier falls, and you die. The typical 5-pointed star was on the floor. The star was cut into the concrete with silver inlay. Not cheap at all, but when you're working with entities that can summon elements and do basically magic at times, it's really a lifesaver. Chalk gets people killed. Paint can be easily burned and charred away, but even tarnished silver holds without fail, and most lesser demons can't melt it. I'm not stupid enough to call a major demon. Not yet, anyway. Older red candles were laid at each point of the star, lit, filling the basement with a strong scent of cinnamon and clove. As I made a cut at the tip of one of my fingers, I called out a name. The name itself was a nearly unpronounceable series of syllables to the Midwestern tongue, which sounds like Nahuatl, the old Aztec language, which the demon once told me translates roughly to flirt. There was a bright flash of light. I watched the candles and picked up the blowtorch reflexively, but the demon in the circle wasn't about to try to escape, even if one was not lit. The demon was Lascivious. That's both a name and a mannerism for this demon. He's basically the demon of the sin of flirting. Didn't think that was a sin, did you? Neither did I. Turns out everything fun you could possibly do is almost certainly a sin. There's the old saying, everything in moderation. Turns out that's true for sin, especially. Flirt too much? Sinned. Look too long at a dump truck? Ass? Sinned. getting a little too into this story, you are in fact sinning. Maybe. It's a little complex. The Christians claim the book is blank when you get to heaven so long as you believe. Well, depending on who you ask, babies who have never done any wrong go to hell if they aren't splashed with water right away. The demons tell me God likes to play favorites, and so does the devil. Me, I don't know what to believe. A direct through line to hell will do that to you. Lascivious, last to me, we're buddies. Lassie, if I'm feeling shitty, stands at around 7 foot with bright red skin, a long sinewy tail, pair of goat's legs, and a sort of Aztec-style scar tattoos all across his chest and neck. He wears a puffy silk shirt, like the kind you see on those cheap romance novels about forbidden pirate lovers. His teeth were sharp and pointed, less like a shark and more like a lamprey, and his mouth opened round like one too. Don't ask me how he vocalizes even remotely correctly. I couldn't tell you. "Hey, lass," I said as I pulled a chair toward the circle and sat down. The basement was lacking in furnishings, and I tried to keep the circle area clear, but I had a pair of armchairs and a nice table near the circle. "What is it now, Rodney?" he said. He talks with a lot of honey and jasmine in his voice, like he's constantly trying to hit on you. "I was busy." "Got a job for you, lass." "I swear to Satan, if it's another jilted lover asking me to spy on someone." "Bingo." The demon crossed his arms. "For fuck's sake, you'd think they'd at least kind of it interesting. I miss the cases when we used to find people who made dolls they preferred over the lovers, fashioned out of the lover's skin, I might add, and now?" People get what they want off the internet now, lass. Not quite as many psychopathic public perverts in the world. Also, you're confusing me with Granddad again. "Pish posh, humans are all the same. A little difference in blood changes nothing." "Focus, lass, we got work to do." Fine, fine. What's the job?" "We got a live one here." I filled him in on what the target is. About a week ago, a girl called me to ask about her boyfriend. Common enough call, sure, but when she told me that he was tied up with a Russian mob, it started to pique my interest. Story goes, she ended up meeting him at the bar. I found out he was a mid-ranking member of the organization, then all of a sudden, her boy starts spending less and less time with her. Of course, she figures he's cheating, but I figure something else is going on, and if anyone can tell me if someone is cheating on a girl, it's Lassie. "He's not cheating," Lascivious said flatly. "I can tell you that right off the bat. The boy only flirts with his girl. So it's outside my wheelhouse." "Yeah, but I can still hire you to tag along and keep an eye on them. What's the terms?" "Your soul." Yeah, I know. You're contractually obligated to ask for that, but you know damn well you're not going to get it." "Can't blame a demon for trying." "Fine. What you got?" 2 cans of wintergreen chew and a half bottle of Jack." "It's a full bottle, Rodney." "Yeah, half of it's mine." "Deal. Let me out." I broke the circle. Not hard to do, just had to stick my hand through. Lightning and thunder and rain and storm can't break silver, but if I want to let the demon out, I can do so with the touch of my hand. Lassie passed the circle, grabbed a can of dip, and took a generous portion. I'll never understand why they like tobacco, let alone chewing it, considering their biology. I figure he just swallows it. Now, good old Danny Jack, that just makes sense. Me and him go way back, after all. Anyway, after sipping some booze and enjoying a dip of tobacco, Lass grabbed the last can, did a bit of sleight of hand to make it disappear. He just summoned it back later when he wanted more. Don't ask me where it goes. "Give me a couple of days. I'll watch him closely." And with that, Lascivious vanished. At least from normal sight, I could still see him, and he knew that. I could see, not hear, the sigh of frustration as the demon trotted over to the ladder and just sort of floated out of my basement. I walked out after him, climbing out the trapdoor and throwing a rug over it, returning the home to its totally normal, not at all suspicious state. The house hadn't changed since my grandfather gave it to me, much to my parents' chagrin. The walls were lined with animal heads from various hunts that he had been on. Most of the beasts were from various parts of the Midwest and High Plains areas of the U.S. The living room had no TV. Instead, an old-fashioned fireplace was built, apparently for my grandmother's stone collection, and had a fire gently dying beyond the grate. Everything was hardy and wood-floored. Above it, on the mantelpiece, hanging from a decorative rack, was my grandfather's, prized shotgun, which he had named Chekhov as a joke. He used to take it on his hunts, both mundane and supernatural. I've since sawn off the barrel, which would have sent Granddad rolling in his grave, I'm sure, so that I can more easily carry it around town. Most people wonder why I don't carry a pistol. I tell them you can't load a pistol with rock salt and silver. Me and Grandpa have a gift. We can see angels and demons. I try to hide themselves from mortal sight, and we can affect them as if they're really there. Normally, a demon that is discorporated can't just walk through you. Not me and Granddad. I can, and have, swing a punch at such entities, whether or not they're visible. And that punch will connect. Tears them right out of that state and into reality again. Which scares the bejesus out of whomever sees it. I've gotten rather good at dodging other people's literal demons on the street as a result. My parents hated Grandpa and tried to beat the magic out of me. Didn't work, obviously, and now my opinions of the big man upstairs, and my parents, have become mixed, to say the least. I sat in one of those old Victorian armchairs that sat by the fire, and reached over for the old rotary phone that somehow still worked after all these years. I reached for my blue book, black for demons, blue for people, and dialed in the number for my client. Hello? A woman's voice came in over the line. Hey there, Stella? Stacy, actually. Ah, yeah, sorry. A lot of S names in here. Stacy, I'm calling to tell you that I have one of my guys on your case, and I'll be hearing from them within a few days. Oh, about that. She suddenly sounded apprehensive. Could you drop the case, please? She spoke with a sort of quaver in her voice that suddenly had me on edge. Found him then? I asked, trying to sound like I hadn't caught on to her fear. I could just call it off, but there's a severance fee. It's fine. It'll all be paid off, she said suddenly. I appreciate your help. She's hung up, suddenly. Well, that was weird. For one thing, my severance fee is almost as much as she paid me down. It's that high on purpose. Once I send a demon out to do something, I can't actually call them off. A deal's a deal. What I said on the phone was just a lie. Usually when someone calls me off, they try to fight me over the severance fee, and she just agreed to it outright. And how she said help at the end before hanging up, it wasn't like someone says help at the end of a sentence. It was like someone cries for help. She made it subtle, but her true emotions were clear. She's in trouble. I checked the book. Her address was under the number I called. I sighed, walked over to Chekhov, took the gun, checked whether or not it was loaded, and even though it always is, I pinched a couple spare shells, started suiting up for whatever came next. My coat is a long black faux leather thing, much like what Blade or Neo might wear. I know, it's cheesy, but I never really grew up into the Matrix, black coat, black clothes, black sunglasses thing. Plus, a long coat hides a sawn-off shotgun well. Do I stick out? Yes. Does anyone care, really? No. I blend in easily with every other random street emo. I just look like a poser to your random street emo. I called a taxi and walked out on the porch to wait for them. Grandpa's house sits on an area near St. Paul, Minnesota, the city where I used to live. On the streets, I might add. As soon as I got old enough to leave my parents' home, I did so, with no plan whatsoever and not a dollar to my name. I made a bit of a name for myself among the homeless community in the town. They called me the Drug Puncher, because I would quite literally hunt down demons of addiction and beat the shit out of them until they left you alone. It didn't get rid of the addiction, but it helps when the voices of self-hatred and dissent go away. In return, I got to survive dollar cheeseburgers, helped a couple guys get off the street with my services, and when Grandpa died and he gave me the house, I moved in without a second thought. I knew he would have let me stay if I hadn't been homeless. I just didn't want to tell him. Didn't want to worry the retired monster hunter. I waited for the cab. Eventually I saw it pull up the driveway and started walking. Yo, Neo! Nah, I just dressed this way. The cabbie was a dark-skinned fellow, and wore a jacket with the Jamaican flag on it. Didn't have much of an accent, but it was there. That's cool, man, that's cool. Where you need to be? I gave the cabbie directions and got comfortable in the back seat. Side note, I apologize for my atrocious Jamaican accent. I'm sorry. So what you do, Neo? My name's Rodney. You wear that coat, you're Neo to me. Fair enough, I chuckled in reply. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. This is St. Paul, buddy. I've seen some wild shit on these streets. Can't be that much of a surprise. Publicly, I'm a private investigator. Privately, I summon demons to spy on my clients. I waited for the answer. I wouldn't be surprised if that brought the man to silence. So what? You a voodoo man? Witch? Wait, what? No, I'm not a voodoo guy, nor a witch. Though I wouldn't be too miffed if it turns out magic exists. I was confused. Usually you say I summon demons and it gets people to go quiet, usually because they figure I'm insane. My advertisement in the newspaper always has exorcisms and summoning services listed, and people ask me if it's a joke all the time. So you summon demons. How? It's not that hard. Need the proper ingredients, but mostly a circle, a little blood, some candles, a red string. You're serious. No fucking with me. As serious as the dead. It's my job. Tell me some stories. Gets boring watching the roads and your life sounds cool. I started to rattle off a few tales of my time on the streets, some of the demons I dealt with, some of my granddad's stories. In what felt like only a few minutes, we arrived at the home of my client. This is the place. Yeah. I started to reach my wallet. No, man, no need. This first one's on the house. Call me if you need another ride. He handed me a card with his work cell on it, and he drove off. I took a look at the house in front of me. An old brick building, built tall and quiet, nestled between two other buildings on the street. One of the neighboring houses was clearly occupied. The vast number of potted plants on the small front porch had me say. The other house had a for lease sign hung on the door. I walked up to the front door of Stacy's abode and looked at the doorknob, or lack thereof. Instead of a doorknob, there was a fist-sized hole in the door, and the area around the hole was peppered with gunpowder residue. How the hell do people not hear this shit? I said to myself. Jesus, Rodney, you're going crazy. I pushed the door open, took a glance at the street, lit dimly by the lights in the occasional passing car, and I entered the house, pulling the sawn off from its holster. As I did so, I began to sweep the apartment, checking corners. The entry hall was typical of a building like this one. Basic white walls with light texturing, basic bowl light in the entryway, which was lit, a lamp sitting on a table, the bulb blown to smithereens by a stray bit of shot. No phone was anywhere, probably only ever used her cell, and there were 3 doors and a staircase. Catch a tiger by the toe, I muttered as I chose a door at random. Slowly opened the door and cleared the room. Nothing. Living area and kitchen. The coffee table had been knocked over. The various items that seemed to always find themselves on coffee tables, cups, bowls, magazines, and so were scattered on the floor. I was beginning to feel on edge. I contemplated calling the police, but without a demon handy, I wasn't going to be able to investigate the crime scene if it turned out to be one, and being taken in for questioning could be a waste of time. I started moving through the other rooms. Office, bathrooms, upstairs, guest bed, bathroom, master bed. Shit. I saw her there, lying on the ground in front of the bed. Her blood soaked the carpet, and the wall had a weird symbol of 3 triangles sort of intertwined. I made a mental note to look it up and moved through the room, trying to keep from stepping on a soggy bit of carpet or contaminating the scene. I looked her over. Jesus H. Christ, I muttered, swallowing another throatful of vomit as I realized how she died. Her body had been cut open near the bladder, and her small intestine had been severed, one end tied to one of the bedposts, and she was forced to fucking walk around all 4 posts of the bed, creating some kind of hellish wrestling ring, the bed, the mat, her guts, the ropes. The smell hit me then, as if my senses were lagging from the shock of seeing a corpse, and I bolted out of the room to finally empty my stomach in the master bathroom. When I finally finished losing my lunch, breakfast too, probably was going to have dinner or, eat meat at all for a little while, I picked myself up off the ground, flushed the toilet, and saw the mirror. What looked back at me was a brightly shining star made from a multitude of golden spines. Each spine was topped with a flaming eyeball, the vitreous fluid dripping into the center of the star as if fueling it. Oh, thank God! A familiar face. Rodney, what are you doing here? The creature was taken aback, and as I turned around, I could see its body fully. The body was an alabaster-skinned, androgynous, and wore a pure white toga bound with a golden brooch. In one hand, the angel held a golden scythe. This was an angel of death, or one of them. Not to be confused with the horseman, who was the terrifying skeleton with the black scythe, who was reserved for the truly evil. This angel's name was Ezreal. I'd met her before, quite a few times while I was on the streets. Come to claim the girl? I asked. Last rites have not been performed, so I must claim the soul. That does not answer my question. The surprise was gone from the angel's voice. I could swear the eyes squinted at me. She was a client of mine. Mercy, she didn't make a deal, did she? No, I'd never. Look, I'm here because she asked to cancel the deal. I wanted to know why, so I stopped by, saw the shotgun hole in the door, and realized something was up. She is dead, the angel said, rather matter-of-factly. What else needs to be known? I sighed. Demons were meant to tempt humans, and as a result, they were made to act human. Angels were meant to watch humans, and as a result, they tended to be this. Frustrating. What needs to be known is how and why she died. You're an angel of death, right? Give me a coroner's report. I started moving back towards the bedroom, but the smell coming from the open door kept me from going any further. The mortal shell of this one died due to blood loss and septic shock from their intestines being slowly unwound. The increased adrenaline still in the body suggests that she was forced to walk around the bed to facilitate the unwinding of the intestines. It was a method used by the Vikings. The symbol on the wall is a Volknut, a symbol of the pagan god Odin. The angel clenched her fists. And it is a symbol of death. I blinked. What? Okay, first off, you're an angel, and you know about symbols to pagan gods. When you have to reap the souls of those who died during their rituals, you become accustomed to seeing them. The angel looked at me again. Why are you ill? Humans don't handle seeing that kind of stuff easily. You are not unfamiliar with death. Not that kind of death. I see. We stood there in the hallway in silence for a short while. The angel placed a hand on my shoulder. I felt a strong warmth shoot to my toes upon contact with the being. I expect you to find who did this, Rodney Jordan Wakefield. I expect you to find them, and I expect you to show them what happens when you start to poke around with the rituals of old gods. And with that, the angel turned to the room and walked in. I couldn't say anything. I was too confused. Was that wrath from an angel? She was pissed, and she used my full name, which was creepy. Something about this made her mad. I noticed something else. It wasn't nauseous anymore. It felt great, actually. Fantastic, even. Like I just walked away from a massage, got a runner's high, and was fully readjusted by a chiropractor. She gave me a blessing? Me? Fucking why? How? I had to do some research soon, but first I heard the sound of sirens blaring, distant, but coming closer. Fuck, shit, fuck! I started moving downstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. Holstering Chekhov as I moved, I burst out the front door and started sprinting full tilt down the street. I hadn't run this fast since high school. I didn't know how long this blessing would last, or even entirely what it did, besides giving me seemingly endless energy, but I knew I was going to use it to put as much distance between me and the police as I could. I turned a corner, found myself on the very seedy side of town, and kept running. My sprint was suddenly halted by the painful thwack of a 2x4 slamming into my forehead. I saw some stars, and then it all went black. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this particular story, you can check the link in the description to read the blog yourself if you want to. The next page comes out literally tomorrow as of recording this video, and it should come out around about 8 in the morning Central Standard Time. If you want to have access to the pages early, you can check my Patreon, which is also down there in the links in the description. It's also got linked on my Blogger page itself in order to try to support me and my work. Doing so will grant you access to all of the pages early. Any pages that I have done currently, which means that you could have anything between 2 extra pages a month to having 3 to 4 extra pages a month, depending on how much I've done. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.